This is a 5-minute video explaining our favourite ocean downwinder, the Capes Run. A lot of people have asked us about it over the years, and we figured we'd chuck a bit of a voiceover across some footage we took during the week. It's about 16 to 17 Ks, starts inside Botany Bay and finishes inside Gunnamatta Bay. Begins with a bit of a bash out to a turning point about 4 kilometres off the coast of Cape Banks. No video of that because who wants to see someone bashing across a headwind and a crosswind? And then you turn downwind and you traverse Cape Solander, Cape Bailey, and the famous Potter Point. It's quite sectional. The first part of the paddle is obviously a headwind or a side wind. Always pretty tough getting out there. And then this particular part where you're running alongside the cliffs is usually a bit bouncy, a bit of rebound. The waves are a bit steeper and quite technical. A lot of fun. Fairly committing because, as you can see on the right hand side there, they're big steep sandstone cliffs about 60 to 80 metres high, and there's absolutely nowhere to land. So if you find yourself running out of ocean, the northeast sea breeze, which is roughly going from left to right in the video, will see you eventually meet your match with those big sandstone cliffs. The first section here again, we always try and stick together because it's pretty easy to get out of sight of your paddling mates when you're in amongst waves which are overhead high. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. I think anyone doing it would be advised to do it in more than two. There's three of us out here on this day, myself, Mark and Christy. Generally there's maybe even a couple more than that. But it is a very committing paddle because of the cliffs, because of the lack of landing, and the technical nature of the water, especially this first part. People who do it for the first time often remark on how physical it is, especially this bit, and you do tend to hit the fun part, which is where the cliffs end and beautiful Bait Bay opens up. Pretty knackered actually. So it's why it's such a good test for all the ocean paddles we do, the races we enter in the early part of the new year. This is the one we try and do a few times. We always stop, get together, make sure we're all okay. On this particular day, which was a couple of days ago, December 2023, we had a yacht come past us, which I thought was kind of cool. Not often you get to be up close to a yacht that's under full sail in a wind that's blowing up to 26 knots. So here I am tucking in behind it for a bit of a lark and get some spectacular footage on the camera, really. One thing I did discover sitting in behind a yacht in a decent breeze is that we are very directionally stable, and they are not. This guy was broaching all around the place, as you can see there, so I thought that was kind of cool. And we actually beat them back. We actually got all the way back to where they were going, about 10 minutes ahead of them. So maybe we're the ones living life, who knows. Once we reach Potter Point, or Voodoo, one of the most infamous surf breaks in Australia, all of the rebound and bounce and steepness tends to go out of the water and you're purely riding a wind-driven swell. On a day like today where there's 20 knots as a base with gusts up to about 26, absolutely no swell. Those waves are going around about 15 to 17 kilometres an hour, and you do literally just tick up onto them and away you go. It's about an 8-kilometre stretch across the bay to Port Hacking, which you can just see there in the distance. And I always try and do it with as low a heart rate as I possibly can. Enjoy myself, crack the waves I want to crack, don't get too fussed about the ones that I can't. Try not to put in too much effort and just enjoy my day out riding waves. This particular day was about as good as it ever gets. Really quite an amazing, beautiful, sunny summer's day off the coast of Sydney. That run tends to run the entire way through as we get closer to the beaches. You can see Cronulla off to the right there behind Christie. All of the Cronulla beaches stretch out to our west. In the background there, you can see the Kamay National Park, or Botany Bay National Park. and all the way into the heads of Port Hacking. This is what we get. It's so much fun. If you did it in the real world, I reckon you'd have to get arrested. We finish up at Bass and Flinders Point, and from there we've got a couple of k's of flat water in an absolutely sparkling, beautiful waterway back to where we start the paddle at Lugano Avenue and pick up our cars and drive all the way back. So there it is, the Capes Run. Should really be a race of some sort. Probably isn't because of the committing nature of the cliffs. Just an amazing ocean paddle, especially when there's a beautiful nor'easter blowing like there was on Wednesday.